right, you're on Sunshine with Dan and Leah, and we are very excited. Excited for a couple of things, but first and foremost, excited to be talking to a friend of the show and one and a half for King and Country. It is Mr. Joel Smallbone. Good morning, sir. How are you?
You got my name right, Dan.
Oh, your
Well,
day right this time. I know. Well, because the email said it's going to be Luke and Joel, and then there was an email that said it's just Joel. I went, bam. All right, we're good.
yeah, it's not. Listen, Mum did it all the time too. She has five sons. Like Luke, Joel, Daniel, Josh, whatever your name is. Yeah,
Absolutely. All right. So you guys are look, we're pretty excited because you guys are going to be here in Perth in like 8 days or something crazy like that. And we're going to talk
yeah.
about that in a bit, but we're here to talk about Unsung Hero, your new movie. It's a movie about your family. So tell us what drew you to the project. No, I'm joking. What tell us about the movie.
Yeah, it's. Look, let's just call it for what it is. It's a pretty outrageous notion as a musician to make a movie about your own family. But I'll give you a little bit of the backstory as how it came to be and who's involved, and we can sort of peel the onion back one layer at a time. So, um, Luke has told our family's sort of origin story from the beginning of the band. It's kind of this sort of this pay it forward child advocacy moment. And we've had all these people come up and say, you know, is such a profound story. You should write a book. And we always joke that we were homeschooled, so we don't read and write very well. So what if we give you a movie instead? And in 2020, actually, right after we were with you all last in 2019, Luke called a producer and said, "What do you think about like putting this into development?" He said, "Okay, let's go." And so the last 4 years have literally been sort of steadily um, telling this story, you know, putting this story into film form. And the tenets of the story are mum and dad. Dad was a concert promoter in Australia and lost what would be the equivalent of $500,000. And so mum and dad got together and said, why don't we pack 16 suitcases? We've lost everything. Pack 16 suitcases, six kids, 6 months pregnant. We'll
Yeah.
move continents, chasing a dream. So that's what we did. Got to America. Dad lost his job. We were stuck on the other side of the world. And we just sort of let the miracles begin. We prayed for everything. We played cricket in the furnitureless living room. And we just kind of banded together as a family. Community really rallied around us. And so it's been pretty outrageous to obviously bring it into film form. I need to warn everyone, Dan, you know this, but I play our dad in the film, which I've affectionately called a very expensive therapy session, and it's coming to Australian shores. We just released it in the States 2 weeks ago, and outrageously as well, it was the number two movie in America 2 weeks ago. So we're just kind of pretty astounded by the whole thing.
That's incredible. And Joel, you said there that you play your dad. Was that always the
Yeah.
plan, or was there someone else that you were casting? And what was it like for you to actually become your dad, like be in costume?
Yeah. Well, it's an apt question, Leah. It's interesting because with music, you have to be all things to all people all the time, right? You're the writer, you're the performer, you're the director, you're the marketer. With movies, it's all really delineated. And so when Luke started talking about it, the first thing I thought was, oh, it'd be really novel to play dad. You know,
Mm.
we've worked with him most of my life. I'm bone of his bone. You know, I'm really similar to him in many ways. Um, and then co-screenwriting and co-writing and co-directing sort of came after all that with Richard Ramsey. But I don't know if it was just a sort of a simple confidence, but I was like, I could do that. Like I've done some acting in the past, but the trippiness of like dropping into his shoes, Leah, and like, or specifically his jacket, because it was literally his jacket that I wore from 30 years ago. And you're like, you're looking at little boy Joel, but I'm dad, and this is mum, but I have, you know, I've got to kiss mum, but it's not mum, and just it was sort of break your brain a little
And
bit, you know.
therapy? I think you might need some therapy after this, my bro.
You're
Amazing.
not
But
wrong.
I think
You're not
what's
wrong.
incredible about the movie is the tale that it tells about family. Like I get the sense that your
Yeah.
parents are remarkable people. It kind of feels like an honoring and a tribute even to them. You know, I think about you and your siblings. You come from a big tribe. How much is
Right.
it important for you to tell their story? Because it's almost like their ceiling has become your floor.
You know, Leah, you hit the nail on the head in the fact that this has very little to do with Luke and me. Like, we were so young at the time. We're pretty ancillary to the story. And it is a family film, and it is a real honor project to mums and to, but I want to really take note of the fact that we've always prescribed to this idea that the closer you get to your own heart and creativity, the further it reaches out into someone else's heart. And so that's what we've tried to do with the films. Like, this is literally as close to home as you could possibly get. And what's been really fascinating is to see people rally around this. Like, you know, talking about actors like John Locke from Lost, or Terry O'Quinn, and, you know, DJ Tanner from Full House, Candace Cameron Bure, Lucas Black from Fast and Furious franchise, and Lionsgate, the American distributor. You know, people coming and saying, and entities coming and saying, we love these types of stories. We want to put it on the silver screen. And so Luke and I just felt really fortunate to be able to kind of channel something that is very close to home, that was not really, you know, as much as our story, as much as we were sort of these, you know, little creatures running around, sort of living the adventure with them. And for me personally, I'm roughly Dad's age when he moved. And so the whole trippiness of dropping into his psychology at his age, it's a whole other level of, you know, kind of empathy that it's given me for him, in all seriousness, that I never expected.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you just touched on the casting process. What was that actually like? Was it surreal to get to choose your siblings and your mom? And like, I freaked out when I saw Avery from Nashville. I was like, that's Avery from Nashville, and John Locke from Lost. I was like, oh my goodness, he's the creepiest guy on earth, but it's creepy. He doesn't look creepy. So tell us.
He makes a great grandpa, though, doesn't he? Dan makes a great grandpa.
Good Australian accent.
Well, and that's part of the director's responsibility, right? So I'm looking at all of these, you know, auditions for Rebecca and for Mum. Mum was the hardest, because I really had this idea of, like, down to the height, that she had to be Australian, that she had to be a mum. And we got down to 10 days before we were going into production, and we still didn't have our Helen. And Daisy Betts, who lives in Brizzy, was on holidays at the time, and we'd found her on like a Google search for like the top 100 actresses. Our producer had top 100 actresses in Australia, and actually our sister Rebecca was on the list, and we were like, well, could we? We're like, no, let's not do that. You know, but Daisy was on that, and so we sent her the script on a Friday. She read it on a Saturday. We got on a Zoom call on that Monday. She cried reading the script, and that Friday, I think, she was on a plane to America. And so we were pretty close to the wire, but there was just the grace of God sort of navigating through it with us, you know.
Absolutely.
In terms of the story and what made it into the movie, is there anything that didn't make the final cut that you were kind of fighting for?
Fighting for and fighting against. There's a pretty pivotal scene. There's a pretty pivotal scene where someone is slapped, without giving you too much, you know.
No spoilers, no spoilers.
Inner workings. There is a slap, and it sort of became like the slap, and there was a big debate about whether or not it should happen. And so I'll leave it up to the viewer as to whether or not that made it in. And then I think another part of the process was, ironically, was all the miracles. So if you experience a miracle and it's unexplainable in real life, you go, well, that's a miracle. But if you experience, you know, a miracle in film and it's unexplained, it just feels like bad screenwriting, you know. And so we actually had to like extract miracles out of the process in some ways to sort of make it feel more grounded and more realistic.
That's wild. Yeah. Imagine that. Oh, it's too many miracles. Tone it down. The life's been too touched. That's beautiful. Now, look, so the movie out here in Australia on the 30th of May. We're very excited about that. But as I said before, we're very excited because you're going to be here in Perth in 8 days for the Homecoming tour. Let's talk about it. Like, how excited are you guys? Are you ready? Are you prepared? New Zealand first, and then us, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll sort of get the kinks out in New Zealand,
cool.
And then we'll come to the motherland. You know, man, I can't wait. So one of my closest friends, Ainsley Grosser, is from Perth. We're actually going to get to spend a day off in Perth, and we're going to get to go to the beach, and like, I just can't wait. And honestly, Dan, when we came down in 2019, I think I was pretty frightened, honestly, I can say in retrospect. You kind of like, is a prophet welcome in his own home sort of thing. And we felt so loved. And from the moment we did that, we were like, we got to get back, we got to get back home. And so the pandemic hit, obviously that sort of thwarted our plans. But part of the reason we wanted to call this the Homecoming Tour is with the film and with us. So we're bringing the whole kit and caboodle this time. We're bringing 9 musicians and 90 instruments and curtains falling from the ceiling. And we're just coming back with a little bit of bravado and a little bit of confidence. And you guys have shown up and shown out in such a great way. And so we literally, we're going to the ends of the earth from Nashville. If you drill straight down through the ground, we'd end up at Ewell. And man, I can't wait. I'm really thrilled to be able to come back, bring the whole kit and caboodle.
So good. And are there any last minute sneak peeks or anything that you can fill us in on? Maybe a little
surprise.
teaser?
Well, we're going to rehearsals tomorrow, and I went over the set list with our band leader Garrett P. Tyler, and I will offer that if we play every song that we rehearse up, it will be the most songs we've ever played in a For King and Country set.
Oh my!
Nice.
I think ever.
Wow.
And let's just say there may or may not be an Australian sort of pseudo national anthem type track tucked away in there somewhere as well. I don't know.
I'm on to you. I know what you're talking about, and I'm ready for it. I'm there. I'm pumped. Let's go.
There might even be like a Michael W. Smith 90s cover tucked away in there.
Yes.
Little Darlene, maybe. Throw a little Darlene, maybe.
You might be pushing it. You might be pushing it.
I'm sorry. Too much. Actually,
too much.
One of our listeners said that you guys need to make an Australian covers album of just great Australian hits. And I'm down with that. I think that's the next project for you guys. Finish up this tour.
That's the next record.
Yeah, you're welcome. You can have that one. I just need 10%, and that's all it needs. Well, Joel, look, we're going to let you go. We cannot wait to hang out next week, or in 8 days, for your Homecoming Tour, and we cannot wait to see Unsung Hero in cinemas here in Australia, May 30th. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Dan. Hey, Leah, nice to meet you. We'll see you on the other side.